She went into the cafe alone. No one on the side, no cell phone masking the void, no smile rehearsed. Only her and her own presence. And yet, some have looked at her as trying to decipher a mystery, as if they said, in silence, "What's wrong with her?" But what if the right question was, what is so sure that bothers so much? Have you ever wondered why it still bothers to see a woman alone? Not alone of sadness, but alone of choice, alone of peace, alone of herself. Why is it so difficult to accept that a woman can be well without someone? From an early age, they taught that the happy ending has covenant, altar, and applause. But what if the happy ending is silence, freedom, and self-awareness? She's not waiting for anyone. There is no hole to be filled, nor an emotional script in standby. It is whole, present, without having to fit in the mold of the woman who only makes sense when she is loving someone or being loved by someone. But what if the woman who walks alone is precisely the one who found herself? That scares, because she no longer fits into the stories they told. It is not defined by want. It is not measured by how many desire it, and does not cancel itself to be chosen. It turned into a paradox, annoyed by not being looking for what everyone says is essential. It provokes because it exposes with its simple existence the collective fear of loneliness. But is it really loneliness that she lives? Or is it a new kind of presence, rarer, denser, freer? Have you ever met such a woman? Or are you becoming one? And this is perhaps the most difficult part to understand, because for a long time we have been taught that loneliness is synonymous with failure. What woman alone is rejected woman, that who is alone is incomplete. But what if it is just the opposite? What if the loneliness for some women is a gesture of self-love so deep that it can only be lived away from the noise of the world? These women are not running away from love, they are just tired of trading their soul for crumbs of affection. They no longer want to survive in relationships that require self-silencing, emotional submission, or the constant sense that they need to deserve love. They realized that there is something worse than being alone, being accompanied and feeling empty, being with someone and yet need to hide. So loneliness became sanctuary, a space where they listen without haste, where there are no distorted mirrors nor urgency to be desired, where time has another rhythm and presence is finally whole. But this choice did not come easy. She passed nights when everything inside her screamed for a lap, for unanswered messages, for empty promises that made her doubt of her own value. And it was there, in the midst of pain, that she understood. A true silence is better than words used as bait. She began to prefer books to emotional games, lonely cafes to shallow encounters, the depth of an internal dive to the surface of a convenient passion. But let's be honest, this woman is not resolved, immune, cold. She feels, she desires, she wants love, yes, but a love that is encounter, not prison. Let it be celebration, not replacement of absences. Do you understand the difference? She doesn't want someone to save her. She wants someone to walk beside, not forward, not back. And until that happens, it chooses the space. It chooses the echo of its own ideas. It chooses self-knowledge, even when it gives. Because she understood a rare truth: it is better to be alone than to be away from yourself. She did not isolate herself because she's afraid of love. She has retreated because for the first time she has the courage to choose herself. She has tried everything, to mold, to shrink, to fit, made concessions, believed in halves, romanticized signs of disinterest as shyness. It called style inattention, depth silence, respect distance. But at some point something inside her broke. And what broke was not the heart, it was the spell. She woke up, and with the awakening came clarity. A clarity that does not scream, but weighs, who does not accuse, but drives away, who does not take revenge, just leaves, because now she knows. Love without reciprocity is emotional charity. It no longer fits in this body that has learned to listen. It was not easy to get here. The process required dying and being born many times, letting go of illusions. Admit that for a long time she confused attention with affection and physical presence with emotional availability. She stopped romanticizing the doubt. Today, if there is no clarity, she does not enter. If there is hesitation, she does not force. If you need to explain too much, she shuts up. Not because she gave up love, but because she discovered that true emotional protection is not to be blinded, it is to discern. She does not test anyone else. She does not play, does not manipulate, does not make herself difficult. She simply observes, and if it does not feel true, she chooses to leave before she needs to rebuild herself once again. This woman developed something rare, a radar tuned with her own dignity. She perceives in the tone, in the lines, in the small gestures, everything that before insisted on ignoring. And the most beautiful, she is not angry that she was deceived. She feels gratitude for having awakened. He knows that each confused relationship was a mirror of his own internal confusion. And now that the house is clean inside, she no longer accepts anyone who walks in with mud on their feet. But is the world ready for this kind of woman? A woman who doesn't need you to prove anything, just be clear? Who does not accept crumbs, not for arrogance, but because he knows the taste of the feast inside. It has not hardened, it has become thin. And if today she seems distant, selective, perhaps even too difficult, it is because she has learned that clarity is also affection, and that a firm no is sometimes the greatest act of self-love anyone can do. This woman no longer lives on the surface. She dived, and the dive was not beautiful. It was dark, lonely, confused, like every dive in its own shadow. Do you know what the shadow is? Carl Jung said that the shadow is all that we deny in ourselves. Everything we hide, repress, mask to be accepted, loved, fitted. It is jealousy disguised of care. It is the dependence disguised as romanticism. It is the insecurity camouflaged sweetness. This woman has lived there. She was too good to be left. It was already too intense for fear of being forgotten. It was already so many versions of itself that lost in the middle of the way. But one day, she stopped running. He stopped trying to fix his darkness and decided to enter it. That's when it all began. There, in the pain he avoided, in the silence he tried to fill, in her childhood memories, in the unheard cries, in the emotional abandonment she had always carried in her chest. It was there that she found herself, not the edited version ready for Instagram, but the real woman, angry, afraid, with desire, with light and with shadow. And instead of wanting to heal herself to please again, she decided to heal herself to free herself. This process has a name: individuation. It is when you stop wanting to be perfect to be whole. It is when you accept your contradictions, your traumas, your emptiness, without clinging to them. She is no longer a hostage of her own wounds. She knows that they were real, but they do not define her story. Before, she sought someone to complete her. Today, she just wants someone who does not hinder her expansion process. She no longer romanticizes the wounded man that needs to be saved, because she has tried and almost drowned, trying to rescue those who did not even want to be saved. Now she understands. To love the other without having integrated its own shadow is to give itself blind, and blindness takes a lot of money. So if she seems demanding, it's because she knows where it hurts. She knows the price of ignoring her own signals. And she knows that every time she abandons herself to hold someone, it is she who ends up on the ground. This woman has learned that integrity scares. Because she doesn't need someone, she chooses. And that changes everything. She won't fill anyone's void. She will not live old roles nor repeat inherited scripts. She is writing her own narrative. and she has no hurry or despair. Because your soul has learned that the true company is the one that begins inside. She got tired of relationships that seemed promising, but always ended the same way, she giving everything and getting almost nothing. Tired of loves that required her small, of dynamics where she had to choose between being loved or being herself. She realized she was repeating pains with different faces, reliving the same story with other names, other bodies, but the same emotional plot. What she used to call coincidence or bad luck in love now has a clear name: pattern. And breaking that pattern is an internal revolution, because breaking the cycle requires courage to face it, courage to admit that for a long time she confused love with adrenaline, tension with passion, control carefully. She stopped being attracted by that which confirmed her wound. She stopped looking for someone's father who never took him in. She stopped trying to rescue partners who made her feel invisible again. She no longer wants to be the savior, no longer wants the mission to fix anyone. And when that chip falls, something powerful happens. It goes to say no to everything that once made her feel alive, but emotionally exhausted. She understands that what she called chemistry was often just trauma in resonance, and what seemed intense was just instability disguised as intensity. Now, what attracts her is calm. It's light. It's light. And this lightness does not mean superficiality. It means security, coherence, presence. She no longer wants to drown in someone. She wants to swim beside, in the same direction without chains that pull her back to the bottom. Yes, she still loves. But she loves differently. She loves with limits. She loves with lucidity. She loves without having to lose ground every message that does not arrive or call that does not come. She stopped justifying absences, to make excuses for the emotional immaturity of others, to try to be enough for those who do not know what they want. Because now she knows what she wants, and knows that merit is not proven. It recognizes. She no longer needs to contort emotionally to fit into someone's life. Today, she knows, when love is true, it does not require you to abandon yourself. And if it seems difficult to find someone who loves like that, she prefers to wait. Because she has already understood that peace is also a form of love. She's not shouting, she's not fighting, she's not explaining herself, she's just. And for some reason, it bothers her. Annoys because her presence questions without needing to speak. Because she does not follow the script. It does not run after, does not beg, does not need, and the system hates those who do not. For centuries, they taught women that their value came from outside. Beauty, fertility, male approval, the status of wife, the social seal of belonging. But she turned this game around. She doesn't want to be chosen anymore. She chooses. She's not waiting to be saved, she's busy expanding. She does not seek applause, walks in silence. And this is precisely what makes her dangerous. She is the mirror that reflects the lack of courage of others. It reflects the discomfort of men who still need to dominate in order to feel strong. It reflects the discomfort of women who still live in function of the external gaze and feel betrayed by those who dare to escape from the invisible prison. Because it shows with its existence that it is possible to live differently. It is possible to be woman without being submissive. It is possible to be loving without nullifying. It is possible to be alone and yet full, whole. It breaks ancient patterns, not as an act of rebellion, but as a natural expression of those who no longer fit into the old frames. She does not hate men, just no longer bows to them. She does not compete with other women, but also does not compact with the falsity of performance sorority. She speaks little, but her silence says it all. And the world, accustomed to the woman in need, dependent, passive, does not know what to do with her. How to control who does not need to be controlled. How to seduce someone who has already filled himself inside. how to manipulate someone who already knows his own triggers. This woman is not reactive, she is sovereign. And its sovereignty is not noisy, it is not displayed. It is dense, it is magnetic, it is inevitable. It does not belong to the old world, it announces the new. And so it frightens so much, because its existence is prophecy. It is the incarnate break. It is the silent warning that the time of domestication is over. She will not return to the cage. She will no longer accept invisible chains disguised as romanticism. She does not want admiration, want truth. And if you can't handle it, it's not her problem. It's the mirror you're not ready to face. She's no longer just a woman, she is a symbol. From an era that arrives silent but firm. From a feminine that no longer bows to applause or the ideal. It represents the end of an ancestral cycle and the birth of a new archetype. No more the good girl, the savior, the sensible fairy, the ideal wife. These masks fell down, and in their place, something indomitable emerged. She is the whole woman, whole because she knew her light and did not deny her shadow. Whole because she does not need to be divided to be accepted. Whole because its presence is not an apology, it is a silent affirmation of existence. This new archetype does not need to impose itself in order to be noticed. It does not cry out to be heard. Its energy speaks before the words. She may be quiet in a cafe, walking alone on any afternoon, or refusing invitations that do not vibrate with your soul. And yet you feel there's something different there. It's not arrogance, it's clarity, it's emotional sovereignty. It doesn't compete because it's not in the game. You do not need to prove yourself because you know who you are. You do not seek belonging because you have found a home within yourself. This new archetype scares because it cannot be tamed. It does not mold itself to trends, does not follow gurus, does not seek formulas. It feels. She observes, she chooses, and above all, she sustains her choices, even if it costs company, approval, or comfort. She lives life as a ritual, with presence, intention, soul. And so the places she passes through are never the same. She transforms with a look, with a silence, with a gesture, because its energy is aligned with something greater than itself. It is the bridge between worlds, between the visible and the invisible, between what we were and what we can be. This woman does not need protection anymore. She is protection. She no longer needs validation. She is presence. No longer need fantasy. It is raw truth, wild and sacred. And you may not yet know how to deal with it, but deep down, you know that the world needs her. Because where this woman steps, the old man dies, and the new finds room to be born. She no longer seeks in love the healing for her wounds. He does not wait for someone to arrive to fill the emptiness left by life. He does not place his happiness, his peace, his existence in the hands of another. Love, for her, is a feast, not an obligation. A dance between two integers, not a rescue between two lost. She knows that love is not salvation. It is celebration, celebrating what is already, celebrating companionship, meeting, mutual respect. Celebrate the freedom of being alongside someone who has also chosen his own integrity. This love that she desires is not easy. It is not made of mirages nor empty promises. It is deep, true, complex. It is love that accepts light and shadow, that recognizes the imperfections as part of the beautiful, that does not expect to fix, but rather grow together. It is not lost in the other. It does not cancel. It does not adjust. It does not adapt until it disappears. It is whole. And you want a love that respects this integrity. And while this love does not arrive, she walks alone, with dignity, peace, strength, because she has learned that it is better to be alone than poorly accompanied. That the silence of loneliness is 1,000 times more precious than the noise of emotional crumbs. And so she follows, faithful to herself, firm in her way, open to what she deserves, without haste, without fear, without guilt, because deep down she knows true love is not about needing, it's about choosing, celebrating and transforming. And when it comes, it will be a meeting of the whole, a celebration of life in its purest and most beautiful form. Until then, it is your own party. What about you? Have you ever felt this transformation happening within yourself? Have you noticed the moment when you stopped seeking approval and began to walk with your own soul as a guide? If this video spoke to you in some way, like it, share with those who need to hear it, and leave the comments which part touched you the most. Perhaps your story is the mirror that another woman needs to wake up. We see you in the next video.